Okay.
では、星酔いの集いを始めましょう。星座の解説は今年も私、三島が務めさせていただきます。
And in case any of you are wondering, my constellation is the Taurus.
では、
Even though it does not relate to my personality at all.
説明しやすいよう、皆さんは北向きで寝ています。すると、足元の南から少し斜めになって頭上へと伸びる光の帯が見えますね。東洋では川に見立てた光の帯が、西洋ではミルクに見立てられる。なんだか面白いですね。さて、天の川というとまず思い浮かぶのがアルタイルとベガですね。すなわち彦星と織姫です。
Orihime? This isn't Bleach.
小鳥でひときわ明るく輝いている星です。見つかりましたか？ベガはこと座を形成しています。左手に星が平行四辺形に並んでいて比較的わかりやすいと思います。アルタイルは川を隔てたところにあります。ベガには少し及びませんが、こちらも明るいですね。剣入淑女の物語も話だけ聞くとピンとこないところがあるかもしれませんが、こうして天の川を見ていると実感として迫ってきますね。さて次に、
Sister Mishima finished her explanation and took her leave. Then, as if they had been waiting for this moment, the students began to move. No offense to Sister Mishima, but this was the true main event. Okay, so where am I going to go? And we all know what's going to happen. And this is the main choice too, I believe, personally. Even though it does require all of them. Risco's perspective. After Sister Mishima left, they had their own free time. Risco tensed up on her blanket. This was the part most of the girls were waiting for, but I was terrified of it. I could still feel it in my hand. I remember marking my own place on Messiah's seating chart. The sensation of drawing a circle on a piece of paper was not a strange one by any means, yet it had remained with her all day, right until now. After returning to her room, Risco spent all night thinking about it, barely managed to manage any sleep at all. What on earth was I thinking when I circled my number on that paper? That much was obvious. I wanted Messiah to come visit me. Onisama, you aren't attracted to Messiah or anything like that, are you? At the time, I forced myself to laugh and deny it. Deny the feeling of heartache that had run through me. Then, had it just been a figment of my imagination? I lied to myself? I was a traitor. Perhaps that realization was what caused that pang in my heart. I watched the crowds of people pass by. I was sitting so I couldn't see them all. What then was I afraid of? Was it that I too had been affected by the Doxtron Rise had mentioned? It wasn't change itself that I was afraid of. I was afraid of looking down at that patch at my feet. You know, it's all on rails. At the time, I had insisted that I didn't live my life on rails, but in fact, her footsteps quickly turned to face them. Yeah, that's the thing. Move that. Listen for the hesitation. Konomi is really bad at feeling the vibe of areas. Like, not being able to feel the atmosphere and the tension. I scooted over to make space in the blanket, but Konomi looked off in another direction and did not sit.
好みやっぱり
Meanwhile, let's see, Class 1A, number 5. There, I walked along with help from my sheeting chart. I started to move the minute Sister Mishima's speech finished, but it was pretty chaotic. I guess it's to be expected from my girls' school. They really like the events where you get to snuggle up with someone else. Watching them raised my spirits. This looks like the place. It was dark and with only starlight to guide me, so I slowed my steps as not to miss it. Given the type of person Risco was, I couldn't imagine her going to someone else's spot. She'd probably be in her own. And there she is. There were two of them. Konomi was standing next to her. Good evening.
やはり来ましたね
The frightening tone of Konomi's voice took me aback. What's going on?
かしたではありません
Konomi's voice remained subdued as she moved to put herself between me and Ritsuko. That in itself wasn't unusual, but something about the atmosphere was different this time. Starting off what to do, I looked down at Ritsuko, who was still sitting on the blanket. She also seemed surprised.
私本当は信じたかったんです
What?
それもあって私はあの時我慢して
What are you talking about?
結局のところマセイ様はやっぱりタンタトルシルパンだったのですね
Wait a minute, Konomi. I don't know what you're talking about. As always, Konomi had started 5 steps ahead of me.
座席用にいくつも丸をつけていたではありませんかそしてお姉様のところにもはっきり言わせていただきますが違うの
That's not it. We both denied it at the same
違
time.
うと言いますと
Konomi turned to Ritsuko.
そのそれはマサヤ様がしたことではなくてでも他に誰が
You... And they call me dense. Ritsuko turned her eyes downward silently. Konomi, does it really matter how many circles there were on the paper?
事の張本人は何を言いますか
The real question, as far as I'm concerned, is who goes to visit whom. I went straight here, and I don't plan on going anywhere else. How does that make me the Tinture Serpent?
でも座席用にいくつもチェックがついていたという事実もうやめて
Can't you see you're making a scene here? At the sound of the tortured voice, Konomi and I both turned simultaneously.
どうかしました
Konomi kneeled on the ground, concerned. Risco shook her head silently. Her long hair shifted, then she looked up firmly.
マサヤ様どうぞ
She indicated the spot next to her. Sure. It interrupted the flow of conversation, but I didn't mind. She had invited me after all. And we're in this awkward pose, but I do like to see that smile. But just as I was about to sit, Konomi interposed herself, trying to shove her way in.
仕方がありませんねでは3人で
Okay. I smiled bitterly. There was none to be done. For a minute there, I thought I saw a forbidding glint in Risco's eyes.
まあ仕方がありませんねお姉様はそういうのであれば
Suppose I'll bear. I think that's my line. It wasn't that I minded having Konomi around, especially, but I really wanted to look at the stars along with Risco. I think that's what Risco wanted too. That must be the reason why she marked her place on the seating chart. Smiled at Risco from over Konomi's shoulder. She smiled back at me. We exchanged our thoughts wordlessly in that way, but Konomi insisted on resuming our earlier conversation.
まあいいです来年には グランデボートがあります。マサヤ様の正体が結局のところはどちらであるにしろお別れであることは変わりありませんから。
Are you saying the Red Rose Society is going to win the grand vote?
当然ですよ。
Well, it's true that the anti-integration faction has more supporters right now, but
そういう意味ではありません。
what?
回答がお姉様だからです。
Shivers seemed to run through Risco's body, but what can only be between us, I couldn't be sure.
我がベニバラ界の回答はバンセーヌでも一位の人気を誇るベレーピーヌです。であればグランデボートではかな。やめて。
Once again, her interruption caused us both to turn towards her in unison.
お姉様。
Risco let out a strained noise, rose to her feet, and ran off without a single glance back in our direction.
失礼します。
That's what you get for making things awkward. Kanomi quickly ran off as well. As I was left alone, it seemed almost unreal the way the two of them had been there just moments before. Reached out the place where Cisco had sat. I could still feel her warmth in the blanket. Then I sighed and returned to my earlier position. I wonder what happened to Risco. She was definitely acting strangely tonight. That tortured voice, that anger glare she saw at Kanomi. I wanted to ask her what happened, but I bet that if I went now, Kanomi would still be there. But still, I leaned back on my hands, looked up at the sky full of stars. The evening star gathering I'd been waiting for had ended in the most confusing manner possible. I hoped I might get another chance with her, but maybe it wasn't going to happen. This game just makes me happy. I don't know why. Again, I shall say this one more time. Highly approve. Highly approved. After returning to the dorm, I consulted with Ayaka.
あら何よ、リツコのことか。私てっきり
You thought?
私のところに来てくれなかったことの埋め合わせでもしてくれるのかなと思ったんだけど。
Oh, well.
まあいいわ。マサヤくんだってそろそろ気持ちをはっきりさせないといけないものね。
I nodded. That was my intention. That's why today I wanted to take Risco out somewhere we could be alone.
で、リツコがどうしたの？ワイルドに迫って嫌われちゃった？
No, no. I explained the situation.
なるほどね。お邪魔虫が邪魔をしたってわけか。
I wouldn't call her a third wheel. I think Kanomi just wanted to be with Risco
相
too.
変わらず優しいわね、マサヤくんは。
I don't know about that, but anyway, I didn't get to look up at the stars with Risco,
埋め合
so
わせをしたいと？
yeah, it's still summer vacation, so I thought I'd invite her out somewhere, but I was wondering what kind of place you'd like. And my mouse just moved by itself for some reason. You guys can't see it on the screen, but it moved. Maybe an amusement park or
ど
something?
うかな。あの子そういう人混みとかはあんまり好きじゃないから。
I see. Then it might not be possible to go
まあ
out.
わからないわよ。ちょうど明日隣町で夏祭りがあるの。それに誘ってみたら？
A summer festival, huh? Aika told me that the festival was at the Tsukishi Shrine in a nearby town. It took about 30 minutes to get there by train, which meant it was an 1 hour's trip from Fesness. It wasn't that far, so Risco might agree. I see, well, I got nothing to lose. I might as well invite her.
ねえ、マサヤくん。君、本当にリツコのことが好きなの？
Aika's words were usually tempered by a gentle smile, but now her expression was completely serious.
私も一応姉だしね。だから聞いておきたいのよ。余計なお世話だろうけど。
Shook my head. I'm not sure. I'm certainly attracted to her.
なんだか頼りない返答ね。
Sorry.
ま、いいけど。逆に言えば、だからデートでもして自分の気持ちを確かめたいってことなんでしょ？
Yes.
それとあと、リツコの気持ちもか。実際 律子は君のことどう思っているのかしらね。
Well, that's good to
た
hear.
だ星追いの集いの時はなんで行っちゃったのかしら。
Risco had acted so suddenly I couldn't be sure.
でもお邪魔虫に思わずカッときたというのもなんだかあの子らしくないし。
That's true. Something about Konomi's word had seemed to make her extremely uncomfortable. What was going through her
い
mind?
つも冷静なあの律子が
Aika was clearly worried for Risco the way a big sister should be. I'm worried too, but in the end, all I could do was ask her. Anyway, I'll invite her on the date. Just face the question head on.
ああ、そうね。そうしなさいな。
Thanks a lot, Aika. This really was helpful. In Risco's case, I thought that sending her an email might be better than asking her face to face. I worked the phone's unfamiliar interface. Unfortunately, her mailing address was on the student contact sheet I received at initiation. The email address on the phones the grounds gave out were chosen automatically based on student number and should be changed. Okay, I read the message over a few times. It was inoffensive and to the point. I hope this is okay. Anyway, check the message destination one more time, then press the send button. I'm so nervous. To be honest, this was my first time asking a girl out on a date. Never thought it would be this nerve-wracking. After sending out the email, I found myself checking my cell phone every 30 seconds. Of all things, why 30 seconds? I was optimistic up until the 3-minute mark. When 3 minutes turned 5 and I suddenly got nervous. Maybe it was a bad idea, but still, maybe she's in the shower or the bathroom. My thoughts argued with each other. Another 5 minutes passed, and the bad idea chain of thought was starting to win out. I passed 5, then 10 more minutes locked in like that. If this were sumo, he'd be scheduling a rematch by now. But what kept me hanging was that feeling that I didn't want to give up. After all, if I give up just because I didn't receive a response, it really was hopeless. And what if the message just didn't reach her because of interference or something? I spent the whole time staring at my cell phone, turning those thoughts over in my head. 60 minutes have passed, basically an hour in total. I just stand about and invite her directly when... Whoa. I finally got a long-awaited reply, but now I was suddenly anxious. But what if she said no? That's weird. Why is everything making me feel nervous? And here I had planned on being optimistic. Well, maybe that's how it was for all guys asking a girl for a first date. And in my case, this was my first time asking a girl on a date at all. I couldn't just keep gripping the phone forever. In the end, I summoned all my courage and read the email.
わかりました。行きます。
Whoa. I felt my heart leap. I rubbed my eyes, then checked the screen again repeatedly. But no matter how many times I read it, there could be no misinterpretation. Risco's response was an unquestionable sure.
ただ恥ずかしいので神社で待ち合わせする形でいいでしょうか。私がバスを1本早く出ますので。
Roger there. And I added an I'm looking forward to it as well. Then sent the email related. Man, I'm so happy. I tossed the phone away idly, then threw myself onto the bed. I never felt this way before. It felt like my chest was tightening and the back of my knees were itching. But it was a real strange feeling, but it wasn't bad at all. On the contrary, maybe this really is love. It was looking that way. I was going out to a summer festival with a girl. Surely wouldn't feel this happy if I didn't feel like she was special. But knowing I was going on a date with Risco thrilled me from the bottom of my heart. So it must be. Meanwhile,
恋なのかな。
Risco quickly silenced her own thoughts. She felt an incredible heat in her cheeks. She looked into the mirror and saw that her face was bright red. She traced the outline of the phone for no particular reason earlier. When she was typing, she found herself in an unbelievable mental state. I'm accepting his invitation. Is this really okay? Is he really asking me on a date? A date with a boy? Is this really okay? The feeling seethed inside her like a pot about to boil over, and she had to stop herself several times. That's why it took an hour to respond. I'm not going to say 60 minutes, I'm going to say an hour. But if she took too long, she knew that myself view it was as a snub. Fearing that I'm reading too fast. In the end, she had hit the send button with something like desperation. Reply came immediately, even though she was the one who being invited. She felt relieved. I don't know why. Why am I so happy? Let's go quickly hit her cell phone under the bed and responded. She had returned to her room to get away from Konomi, but it seemed that was at an end. Although it was actually she who owed Konomi an apology. And used Konomi's words as an excuse to take her leave, but there was nothing inappropriate about what Konomi had said. Konomi's words were not the cause of her actions. The real cause was Risco's own feelings. Instead of telling the truth, though, Risco just gave a diplomatic answer. Konomi was surely inviting her as a means of making amends. Risco's eyes strayed to the bed where she hid her cell phone. If she had just been a moment later. I just noticed this. Does Konomi not have a nose? Or is it just tiny? Like, am I the only one noticing that there's no nose on her face? Like, it doesn't appear as much? Konomi's forcefulness caused Risco to draw back a step. Then Konomi's expression turned hard. Or could it be that her nose is merging with the outline of her eye? Her process came out louder than she expected. Konomi was a little shocked too.
私がお姉様の言ったことを疑うなんて。でもこういう気持ちがお姉様が言っていたことなのかな。
Said it before as well. Messiah is a breath of fresh air of Esnes. And there is the Thexotrop that Rise mentioned, so I believe that even we have been altered by his presence.
やだな。本当に私たち変化してきているのかな。はあ
It was an hour before her planned departure, and
どっちがいいのかしら。
she had fretted for 2 hours over what outfit to wear. First, she had spread the contents of her closet out on the bed and held them in front of her one after the other. One by one, she split them into no's and maybe piles, until she had only 2 outfits remaining. First was an outfit that she liked and wore regularly.
すごい気に入っているし、無難ではあるけど。
Safe meant comfortable, but it also meant boring.
そしてこっち。
The other candidate was a dress that she hardly ever wore. She really liked the design, but the hemline was a bit high. You could even call it a mini. It hadn't seemed that short when she was trying it on in the store, but when she brought it home and tried it on again, she started to worry about the hemline. Although I think that's the type of dress that you wear like shorts. She surely couldn't walk around the town like that. Of course, when she was on school grounds with girls around, there was less need to worry. But there was still something shameless about it, and that's why Risco had hardly ever worn it.
でも今日はせっかく外出するんだし、思い切って着てみると言っても、マサヤ様も多分びっくりするだろうし。あ、でもこんなの着て外は歩けないし、だいたい。
It wasn't just dealing with the eyes of strangers. She could bear that if she had
こんな
to.
の着たせいで、はしたない女と思われても困るし。
What did she want him to see? And not to see, not even Risco herself knew the answer for sure. So even though she had quickly narrowed it down to 2, the process was still taking a long time.
早く決めないと。
She looked at the time with shock. She thought she still had 90 minutes, but she only had 52. She couldn't afford to miss the bus, so she had to be careful of the time. She flustered and maybe even a little annoyed. She quickly compared the two in the mirror. They were both good. She couldn't decide.
そうだ、9時にしよう。次に時計を見たとき、秒針が偶数を指していたらミニのワンピ、奇数だったらいつもの服。せーの。やっぱりいつもの服にしよっと。普段着が一番。あとまだ45分ある。
Having chosen to wear a normal outfit, she still felt like she had to do something special. Her eyes fell on the nightstand earlier. Ayaka had given her some samples she received, which largely turned out to be makeup. She wasn't just basic skincare products, it was real makeup. She had never worn it before, but she understands the basic process. The monthly fashion magazine she read sometimes had features on the subject. and I am going to have to record this for next session. I'm sorry, but would you please bear with me and wait until I finish uploading all this, then we can continue off tomorrow. But anyway, this is the Anime Alley, signing off. Hope you guys enjoy. Leave a like, subscribe, show your support. And keep doing what you love doing. Bye.